Before we begin, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps bring more soothing stories your way. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. The evening air was thick and humid, clinging to Marcus Daniels like a damp second skin as he trudged down the cracked sidewalk. The city had a way of feeling alive and suffocating all at once, its neon signs blinking against the backdrop of a darkening sky. He shifted the weight of his backpack, stuffed with cleaning supplies from his janitorial job at a nearby office building, and sighed. His feet ached, his back throbbed, and the idea of collapsing onto his threadbare couch had never sounded more appealing. But Marcus had learned long ago that life rarely afforded him the luxury of rest. As a single father to 10-year-old Layla, he carried the weight of their world on his shoulders. Her laughter was his anchor, but the growing stack of unpaid bills on their kitchen counter chipped away at his resolve. Tonight, as he passed the narrow alley behind his building, the familiar pang of desperation gnawed at him. That was when he saw it. A duffel bag, slouched against the side of a rusted dumpster, like it had been tossed aside carelessly. At first, Marcus thought it was just another piece of junk in a neighborhood drowning in neglect. But something about the way it sat there, pristine and unmarked, caught his eye. Curiosity tugged at him, though years of living in a rough part of town made him cautious. Glancing around, he noticed the street was unusually quiet. A lone streetlight flickered nearby, casting long shadows that stretched toward him like grasping hands. Probably just some old clothes or trash, he muttered to himself, trying to suppress the flicker of hope sparking in his chest. But something told him to check. Maybe it was intuition, or maybe it was the same stubborn resilience that had kept him going through life's relentless challenges. Kneeling down, he unzipped the bag with trembling hands. What he saw made his breath hitch. Stacks of cash, bundled neatly in crisp bands, filled the bag to the brim. It was surreal, almost cinematic. Marcus blinked, convinced his exhaustion was playing tricks on him, but as he reached out to touch the bills, the gritty texture of paper met his fingertips. This was real. For a moment, he couldn't think. His mind raced through a kaleidoscope of emotions: shock, excitement, and a creeping sense of dread. Who leaves this much money lying around? His heart pounded as questions flooded his brain. Was it drug money? A gang stash? Was someone watching him right now? Marcus shot a glance over his shoulder, half expecting someone to leap out of the shadows and demand the bag back. Nothing. The alley was empty, save for the distant hum of a passing car. He zipped the bag shut and stood, his legs shaky beneath him. The weight of the duffel in his hands felt heavier than it should, as if the money itself carried a burden far beyond its physical mass. Layla, he whispered to himself, his thoughts snapping back to his daughter. Images of her bright smile, her laughter, her dreams of becoming an artist flashed in his mind. This money could change everything for her. No more eviction threats. No more nights of her pretending she wasn't hungry because they were down to their last box of mac and cheese. But the euphoria was short-lived. A voice inside him warned, "This isn't free. Nothing ever is." Still, Marcus couldn't leave it behind. The bag was a lifeline, but it was also a ticking time bomb. With one last glance at the deserted alley, he slung the bag over his shoulder and hurried toward his apartment. Each step felt like a gamble, the weight of the bag dragging him down as if it carried all the consequences of his choice within it. When he finally reached his door, Marcus hesitated. He could hear Layla humming softly inside, the sound of her innocence piercing through his moral conflict. With a deep breath, he pushed the door open, setting the bag carefully in the corner of his cramped living room. "Dad, you're late again," Layla called out from the kitchen, where she was drawing on a piece of scrap paper. "Sorry, baby girl," he said, forcing a smile. "Work ran long." She beamed at him, holding up her latest masterpiece, a sketch of the two of them standing under a giant rainbow. In the drawing, they were happy, carefree, untouched by the weight of reality. Marcus swallowed hard, glancing at the duffel bag and then back at his daughter. She deserved that life, a life where rainbows weren't just dreams. But deep down, he knew this discovery wasn't a simple gift. It was a crossroads, and the path ahead was anything but clear. The duffel bag sat in the corner of Marcus's living room, a silent intruder in the small space. Its presence was oppressive, a constant reminder of the decision he couldn't escape. Layla, oblivious to the storm brewing in her father's mind, had gone to bed hours earlier, her small frame curled under a threadbare blanket in their shared bedroom. Marcus sat on the couch, staring at the bag as though it might spring open and reveal its secrets. He leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees, and rubbed his temples. The questions were relentless. Who owned the money? Would they come looking for it? Could he even trust himself to keep it safe? Pulling out his phone, Marcus opened his banking app. The screen lit up with grim numbers: $23.07 in his checking account, $48.19 in savings. Next week's rent was due, and he was already behind on utilities. He clenched his jaw and glanced toward Layla's room. She'd been asking for new art supplies for weeks, but he'd had to tell her no. Seeing the disappointment in her eyes had crushed him. This could fix everything, he whispered to himself, the words heavy with desperation. Everything. But as the thought settled, so did his guilt. Marcus had always tried to teach Layla the importance of doing the right thing, no matter how hard life got. How could he look her in the eye if he kept the money? What if keeping it put her in danger? The next day, Marcus tried to go about his routine, but the bag lingered in his mind like a shadow. At work, he cleaned office bathrooms and emptied trash cans, his hands moving mechanically while his thoughts swirled. During his lunch break, he confided in his best friend Andre. They had grown up together, navigating the same gritty streets that had shaped their lives. Andre was the kind of guy who called things as he saw them, and Marcus needed that clarity now more than ever. "You found what?" Andre exclaimed, leaning across the table at the diner where they always met. "Keep your voice down," Marcus hissed, glancing around nervously. Andre lowered his voice but couldn't hide his disbelief. "Man, you're sitting on a gold mine. What are you even doing talking to me about it? If it were me, I'd already be on a plane to some island." Marcus shook his head. "It's not that simple. What if it belongs to someone dangerous? And even if it doesn't, I can't just take it. That's not who I am." Andre scoffed. "Who you are? Marcus, you're a single dad trying to survive. The world doesn't care about morals when you're broke. This is your shot." Marcus stared down at his coffee, his reflection distorted in the black surface. Andre wasn't wrong. The world had never cared about his struggles. It had chewed him up and spit him out more times than he could count. "But what about Layla?" Marcus said finally. "What kind of example am I setting for her if I take it?" Andre leaned back, folding his arms. "The kind where her dad can actually give her a future. Think about it, man." By the time Marcus got home that evening, his head was pounding. He opened the door to find Layla sitting on the floor, surrounded by crayons and scraps of paper. "Hey, Dad," she said, beaming. "Look what I made." She held up a new drawing of their apartment, only this time it wasn't the rundown space they lived in now. It was bigger, brighter, with curtains in the windows and flowers on the balcony. "That's us," Layla explained, pointing to the stick figures in the drawing. "And that's our new house. Someday, right?" Marcus's chest tightened as he knelt beside her. "Yeah, baby. Someday." Her innocent optimism cut through him like a knife. As she returned to her drawings, Marcus moved to the closet and pulled out the bag. He unzipped it just enough to see the stacks of cash, each bundle representing a world of possibilities and a mountain of risks. That night, as Marcus lay awake in bed, a newscaster's voice echoed from the small TV in the living room. Boxing legend Mike Tyson is offering a $500,000 reward for the return of a missing duffel bag containing an undisclosed amount of cash. Tyson has urged anyone with information to come forward immediately, saying the bag holds personal significance. Marcus shot upright, his heart racing. Mike Tyson? His mind reeled as he pieced together the implications. The bag didn't belong to a faceless criminal or some anonymous stranger. It belonged to one of the most famous athletes in the world. Layla's voice broke through his thoughts. She had wandered into the room, rubbing her eyes sleepily. "Dad, why are you still up?" Marcus forced a smile. "Just thinking, sweetie. Go back to bed." As she padded back to her room, Marcus knew the decision he had to make. Returning the bag wouldn't just be the right thing to do. It might be the only way to protect the life he and Layla had built. But the path ahead wasn't going to be easy. Marcus stood outside the imposing gate of Mike Tyson's estate, the duffel bag clutched tightly in his hand. The grandeur of the property was almost surreal. Pristine hedges lined the driveway, and a fountain gushed in the distance, illuminated by soft, golden lights. He had never been anywhere like this before. It felt like another world, one where people like him didn't belong. The security guard at the gate gave him a skeptical look, scanning Marcus from head to toe. Dressed in his worn jeans and faded hoodie, he couldn't have looked more out of place. "You're the guy who called about the bag?" the guard asked gruffly. Marcus nodded, his throat dry. Yeah, I found it." The guard's expression softened, but only slightly. He pressed a button on his earpiece, muttered something, and then opened the gate. "Follow me." Marcus's heart thudded as he walked down the long driveway. Every step felt heavier than the last. What would Tyson say? What if he didn't believe him? When they reached the front door, it swung open before Marcus could knock. Mike Tyson himself stood there, dressed in a casual tracksuit but exuding the same intensity that had made him a legend. "You found it?" Tyson asked, his eyes locking onto the duffel bag. "Yes, sir," Marcus said, his voice wavering. He held out the bag, his hands trembling. Tyson took it, unzipped it, and quickly flipped through the bundles of cash. The air grew tense as he inspected the contents. "You kept it in good shape," Tyson said finally, his voice calm but unreadable. Marcus exhaled, relief washing over him. "I didn't take anything, I swear. I didn't know what to do at first. I thought about keeping it, but that's not who I am." Tyson's gaze shifted from the bag to Marcus. "And why's that? You look like you could have used the money." Marcus hesitated. The weight of the question hung heavy between them. "I could have. Believe me, I could have. But I've got a daughter, and I've been trying to teach her to do the right thing, no matter what. If I kept it, what kind of example would I be setting for her?" Tyson stared at him for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, to Marcus's surprise, he gestured toward the living room. "Come inside." Marcus followed, unsure of what to expect. The house was massive but not gaudy. Tasteful art adorned the walls, and the scent of leather and wood polish filled the air. Tyson led him to a plush sofa and sat across from him, the bag still in his lap. "Where'd you find it?" Tyson asked, leaning forward. "Near a dumpster behind my apartment building," Marcus explained. "I was coming home from work. It looked out of place, so I checked. When I saw what was inside," he trailed off, shaking his head. "I didn't know what to think." Tyson nodded, his expression softening. "That bag's been through a lot. It's not just the money, it's the principle of it. I carry it with me for certain reasons, reminders of where I've been. Losing it felt like losing a part of myself." Marcus nodded, understanding more than he expected to. "I get that. A lot of what I do, it's for my daughter, to show her that we can be better than the cards we're dealt." Tyson studied him, his eyes narrowing slightly. "You kept it for a week. Why bring it back now?" "I saw the news," Marcus admitted. "When I heard it was yours, I knew I had to do the right thing. Honestly, I wasn't sure if coming forward was the smartest idea. I mean, someone like me? People don't always believe us when we say we're trying to do the right thing." Tyson let out a low chuckle, his tone laced with understanding. "Yeah, I know what that's like." The two men sat in silence for a moment, the tension easing slightly. Tyson finally leaned back, his demeanor softening. "You could have walked away with that bag and never looked back. But you didn't. That says a lot about you." "I just want to give my daughter a good life," Marcus said, his voice quiet but firm. "She's all I've got." Tyson nodded slowly, a small smile playing on his lips. "I respect that. You did the right thing, even when it wasn't easy. That's rare." Marcus shifted in his seat, unsure of what to say. Tyson stood and extended a hand. "Stay right here. I've got something for you." Marcus watched him disappear down a hallway, his mind racing. He had no idea what was about to happen, but something told him his life was about to change. Marcus sat nervously on the plush sofa, his hands gripping his knees as he glanced around the massive living room. Everything about Mike Tyson's home screamed success, a kind of success Marcus couldn't even dream of. He shifted uncomfortably, feeling out of place amidst the luxury. The duffel bag, now zipped up, sat on a glass coffee table between him and the boxing legend. Marcus's heart raced as he replayed the brief conversation in his head. What did Tyson mean when he said he had something for him? Was it a reward? A gesture of thanks? Or just another test of his character? The sound of footsteps pulled Marcus from his thoughts. Tyson returned, holding a small wooden box. He set it on the table with a deliberate motion, then sat across from Marcus, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "You know," Tyson began, his voice calm but carrying an edge of gravity, "I grew up in Brownsville. It wasn't that different from where I'm guessing you're living now. Poverty, crime, nobody expecting you to make it out. Sound familiar?" Marcus nodded, the words striking a chord. "Yeah, that's pretty much it." Tyson chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "You know what kept me going? Not just boxing, but the people who believed in me. Teachers, mentors, even a few strangers. They reminded me that no matter how bad things were, I could choose to be better, to rise above it." Marcus swallowed hard, unsure of where this was going. Tyson opened the wooden box, revealing a stack of crisp bills, $10,000 neatly bundled. "This," Tyson said, tapping the cash, "is a gesture, a thank you, not just for returning the bag, but for doing the right thing when you could have done the opposite." Marcus's eyes widened, his mouth going dry. I can't take that." Tyson raised an eyebrow. "Why not?" It doesn't feel right," Marcus stammered. "I didn't come here expecting anything. I just wanted to do the right thing." "That's exactly why you should take it," Tyson said firmly. "You didn't come here looking for a handout. But let me tell you something, man. People like us, we don't get many chances to catch a break. This isn't about charity. It's about recognizing someone who's trying to make something of himself." Marcus hesitated, his gaze darting between the money and Tyson's steady eyes. "I've been where you are," Tyson continued, "struggling to prove myself, fighting to survive, and I know what it's like to think no one's watching, no one cares. But I'm watching now, and I care. So take it. Use it for your daughter, for yourself. Just promise me you'll make it count." Marcus reached out slowly, his hands trembling as he accepted the box. The weight of it felt heavier than the money inside. It felt like trust, like an opportunity he couldn't afford to waste. "Thank you," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Tyson replied, leaning back with a small smile. "Just show me what you do with it. You've got potential, Marcus. Don't waste it." Before Marcus could respond, Tyson gestured toward the duffel bag. "Now let's talk about this. You said you found it behind a dumpster, right? Did you see anyone around? Anything suspicious?" Marcus shook his head. "No, it was just sitting there. I thought it was trash at first." Tyson nodded thoughtfully, his expression turning serious. "I appreciate you bringing it back. That bag's been with me through a lot. Losing it wasn't just about the money. It's about everything it represents. You might not understand now, but sometimes the things we carry remind us where we came from." Marcus didn't fully grasp the significance, but he could see the weight of it in Tyson's eyes. He nodded, unsure of how else to respond. After a brief pause, Tyson stood and extended his hand. Marcus rose to his feet and shook it firmly, feeling the strength and resolve behind the gesture. "You've got my number," Tyson said. "If you ever need advice or just someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out." As Marcus left the estate, the wooden box tucked safely under his arm, he felt a strange mix of emotions. Gratitude, hope, and a lingering sense of responsibility swirled inside him. This money wasn't just a lifeline, it was a challenge to prove himself. Driving home, Marcus glanced at the box on the passenger seat and thought of Layla. She deserved a future filled with possibilities, not limitations. For the first time in a long while, Marcus allowed himself to imagine a life where that was possible. Marcus sat at his kitchen table late into the night, the wooden box still unopened in front of him. Layla had long since fallen asleep, her soft snores drifting from their shared bedroom. The silence of the apartment was thick, punctuated only by the faint hum of the refrigerator. He stared at the stack of bills inside the box, Tyson's words replaying in his mind. "This isn't about charity. It's about recognizing someone who's trying to make something of himself. Just promise me you'll make it count. Make it count. But how? The pressure of that promise weighed heavier than the cash itself. He thought about his options. Paying off their debts was the obvious first step, but beyond that, he wanted the money to do more than just keep them afloat. It had to create something lasting for Layla, for their future. By morning, Marcus had formulated a rough plan. He didn't want to waste a single dollar. He spent the next few days researching financial planning, poring over online tutorials and library books. He called local banks to inquire about savings accounts and business loans. For the first time in years, he felt something stirring in him, a sense of control over his circumstances. His first investment was in Layla. "Dad, these are amazing," Layla squealed when he handed her a brand new set of professional art supplies. Colored pencils, sketch pads, brushes, and watercolors, all things she had dreamed about but never expected to have. She threw her arms around him, beaming. "You deserve it, baby," Marcus said, smiling. "But remember, these aren't just for fun. If you want to be an artist, you have to practice every day. Deal?" "Deal," Layla promised, already tearing into the packaging. Watching her light up filled Marcus with a quiet pride, but the rest of the money demanded careful attention. He couldn't squander the opportunity Tyson had given him. One evening, while browsing job listings online, an idea struck him. He had spent years cleaning offices and businesses, learning the ins and outs of what clients valued. What if he started his own cleaning company? At first, the idea seemed impossible. He had no formal business experience, no network, and limited resources. But the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. He already knew how to do the work, and there were plenty of small businesses in the area that needed affordable cleaning services. With part of the money, Marcus took a leap of faith. He purchased basic equipment, a vacuum cleaner, mops, cleaning solutions, and designed simple flyers advertising his services. He registered the business under the name Bright Start Cleaning as a nod to the fresh start he hoped to create for himself and Layla. Getting his first client wasn't easy. Many potential customers looked at him with skepticism, their assumptions about a black man starting a business thinly veiled behind polite excuses. But Marcus refused to give up. He knocked on doors, made cold calls, and offered free trial cleanings to prove his worth. It wasn't long before word began to spread. His attention to detail and work ethic won over a small but loyal group of clients, and from there, referrals started coming in. Marcus reinvested every dollar he earned into the business, buying better equipment, hiring part-time help, and even taking a few online courses in business management. But success came with challenges. Some of the people in his neighborhood viewed his newfound progress with suspicion. A former friend, Kevin, approached him one afternoon, eyeing his freshly detailed van. "Man, you really lucked out, didn't you?" Kevin said, his tone laced with bitterness. "Luck didn't have much to do with it," Marcus replied, keeping his voice steady. "I worked hard for this." "Worked hard? You found a bag of cash, Marcus. Don't act like you pulled yourself up from nothing." The words stung, but Marcus didn't let them show. "It's not just about finding the money, it's about what you do with it. And I'm trying to do something good." Kevin snorted. "Yeah, well, don't forget where you came from." Marcus carried the weight of those words for days. He didn't want to alienate his community, but he also couldn't let guilt hold him back from building a better life. One night, as he and Layla sat on the couch, sketching out ideas for her next art project, he realized something. Layla wasn't just his motivation. She was his legacy. Everything he was doing wasn't just for her future, but for the example he was setting in the present. The cleaning business continued to grow, and Marcus began to see the ripple effects. He hired a few workers from the neighborhood, giving others the same chance he had been given. Slowly but surely, he started to feel like he wasn't just surviving anymore. He was thriving. Every step of the journey reminded him of Tyson's words, "Show me what you do with it." Marcus was determined to show not just Tyson, but himself, that he could rise above the circumstances he had been dealt. For the first time, he believed it might actually be possible. Months had passed since Marcus first opened the wooden box of money, and his life felt almost unrecognizable. Bright Start Cleaning was no longer just a dream. It was a thriving small business with a handful of employees, regular clients, and even a modest office space in the neighborhood. The transformation was undeniable, yet the journey was anything but smooth. One afternoon, Marcus was sitting at his desk, a second-hand metal piece he had cleaned and repainted to look new. A pile of invoices and a notebook with his budget plan were spread out before him. It was a far cry from the exhausting janitorial shifts he used to work, but the pressure to manage a business while raising Layla was unrelenting. As he jotted down notes, his phone buzzed with a call from Andre. Marcus hesitated. He hadn't spoken to Andre much since starting the business. Their friendship had grown strained, partly because Andre often brought up the bag of cash like it was some magical ticket Marcus had stumbled upon, not the spark of hard work and countless sleepless nights. "What's up, Andre?" Marcus answered, trying to sound cheerful. "Man, you're blowing up out here," Andre said, his tone a mix of admiration and something else Marcus couldn't quite place. "I saw your van in front of that law office downtown. You're big time now, huh?" Marcus chuckled lightly. "Not big time, just trying to make it work." "You know, people are talking," Andre continued. "Some of them are saying you forgot where you came from." The words hit like a punch. Marcus leaned back in his chair, gripping his pen tightly. "Forgot where I came from? I'm still here, Andre. I'm hiring people from the neighborhood. I'm trying to show folks there's another way." "I know that, but not everyone sees it that way," Andre said. "They think you got lucky, and now you're too good for the rest of us." Marcus closed his eyes, willing his frustration to stay in check. "It's not luck, Andre. It's work. And yeah, I got a break. But what was I supposed to do? Throw it away? Stay broke so I wouldn't upset anyone?" Andre sighed. "I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, don't forget the people who've been here with you all along." The call ended on an awkward note, leaving Marcus with a swirl of emotions. He didn't want to be seen as a sellout, but he also couldn't let the judgments of others derail the progress he had made. That evening, Marcus sat with Layla as she worked on a new painting. Her tiny fingers were smudged with charcoal, and her brow furrowed in concentration. "Daddy," she said suddenly, breaking the silence, "do you think people get mad when someone does something good?" Marcus blinked at the unexpected question. "Why do you ask, baby?" "Some kids at school said I only got new art stuff because we're rich now," she said quietly. "But we're not, right? We're just better than before." Marcus sighed and scooted closer to her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "You're right. We're not rich. We're just working hard to have more than we used to. And sometimes people don't understand that. They think having more means you don't care about where you came from. But we both know that's not true." She nodded, her lips pursed in thought. "I told them it's okay to share the good stuff you have with others. Is that right?" Marcus smiled, pride swelling in his chest. "That's more than right. That's exactly what we're trying to do." Inspired by Layla's words, Marcus began finding ways to give back to the community. He offered free cleaning services to struggling small businesses, donated supplies to local schools, and held workshops to help others learn how to start and manage their own businesses. But no matter how much good he tried to do, the criticism didn't stop. Some saw his efforts as genuine, while others dismissed them as self-serving. Marcus realized he couldn't control how people perceived him, but he could control his actions. One evening, as he was cleaning out his office, his phone buzzed with an unexpected text. It was from Mike Tyson. "Still making it count?" Marcus stared at the message, a rush of emotions flooding through him. He replied simply, "Every day. Thank you." Tyson responded quickly, "Good. Don't let anyone drag you down. Keep pushing." The exchange was brief, but it reignited something in Marcus. He wasn't just working for himself or even for Layla. He was working to break a cycle, to prove that change was possible, even for someone who had started with so little. As the months rolled on, Bright Start Cleaning continued to grow, and Marcus began to feel a shift, not just in his own life, but in the lives of those around him. Layla was thriving, his employees were gaining stability, and his community was starting to see that his success didn't mean he had forgotten his roots. One night, as Marcus sat with Layla on their small balcony, watching the stars, he felt a deep sense of peace. For the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving. He was building something lasting, something meaningful. And it all started with a chance discovery and a decision to do the right thing. A year after Marcus returned the duffel bag to Mike Tyson, his life was unrecognizable. Bright Start Cleaning had expanded beyond what he ever imagined, with a small fleet of vans, a growing team of employees and clients who trusted him implicitly. The business was more than just a livelihood. It was a symbol of his determination to rise above the odds. Layla, now 11, was thriving in her new school. She had a small art studio set up in their apartment's second bedroom, a luxury Marcus had never thought possible. Her sketches and paintings were no longer confined to scraps of paper. They adorned their walls, each piece a testament to her growing talent and confidence. One crisp autumn evening, Marcus parked his van in front of a community center on the edge of their neighborhood. Inside, the center buzzed with activity as locals gathered for a small business expo Marcus had helped organize. The event was his latest way of giving back, a chance for aspiring entrepreneurs to connect with resources and share their ideas. As Marcus greeted attendees, a familiar voice called out from behind him. "Man, look at you. Big shot now, huh?" Marcus turned to see Andre, his old friend standing by the entrance. His tone was teasing, but his smile was genuine. "Big shot? Nah," Marcus replied, chuckling. "Just doing my part." Andre looked around the bustling room and nodded. "This is cool, Marcus. Really cool. I guess I was wrong about you." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Wrong?" "Yeah," Andre admitted, shoving his hands into his pockets. "When you first got that money, I thought you'd forget about the rest of us. But you didn't. You used it to lift yourself up and help others. That's real." The words struck Marcus deeply. He clapped a hand on Andre's shoulder. "I told you, man, it's not just about me. If I win, we all win." As the evening continued, Marcus mingled with attendees, offering advice, encouragement, and sharing his own story. He met a young woman with plans to start a catering business, a retired teacher hoping to launch a tutoring program, and a father of 3 with an idea for a mobile car wash. Each story reminded him of the potential hidden in his community, waiting for the right opportunities to flourish. Later that night, Marcus and Layla sat on the balcony of their apartment, their favorite spot to unwind. Layla had brought out her latest sketch, a portrait of her father, holding the Bright Start Cleaning logo in one hand and a broom in the other. "You made me look pretty cool," Marcus said, laughing as he studied the drawing. "That's because you are cool," Layla said with a grin. "You're like a superhero, Dad, but instead of a cape, you have a mop." Marcus laughed, but her words stayed with him. He didn't feel like a superhero, but he realized that, in her eyes, he was someone who had overcome obstacles and created a better future. That was enough. As they watched the city lights twinkle in the distance, Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a call from an unknown number. Hesitant, he answered. "Marcus Daniels?" a familiar voice asked. "Yes, this is Marcus." "This is Mike Tyson. I heard about the business expo you put together. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you, man. You really made it count." Marcus's chest swelled with pride. "Thank you, Mr. Tyson. That means a lot coming from you." "You earned it," Tyson said. "Keep pushing, and if you ever need anything, you know where to find me." The call ended, and Marcus set the phone down, a warm smile spreading across his face. He glanced at Layla, who was busy adding finishing touches to her drawing. "Who was that?" she asked, not looking up. "Just someone reminding me to keep going," Marcus said, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. As they sat there, surrounded by the quiet hum of the city, Marcus felt a deep sense of gratitude. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. He had taken a moment of temptation and turned it into a story of resilience, integrity, and hope, a story that was far from over. And as the stars twinkled above, Marcus allowed himself to dream about what the future might hold, not just for him and Layla, but for everyone whose lives he might touch along the way. Thank you so much for watching this story. Your support means everything to us. If you enjoyed it and want to see more inspiring stories like this, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear from you. What time are you watching this video, and where are you tuning in from? Drop a comment below and let us know. It's always amazing to see how far our community reaches. And remember, every share, like, or comment helps us spread these powerful stories to more people. Thanks for being part of this journey, and we'll see you in the next one.